Hello, my name is Wade Huntsman. I'm a personal friend of Laird Jenkins. He and I go back many years. We're actually neighbors. We've had the opportunity to serve together in the church, which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we've done some fun personal things together also over the years. And so I'm going to share a few thoughts with you. First, I'd like to extend my sympathies and my condolences to the Jenkins family, especially Daphne, as she's lost a good friend and a good companion. Laird was a man of great integrity and great character, and he had my respect and my appreciation and my love. And so it is with great loss that we say goodbye to him. But I think he leaves a great legacy of who he was and the type of life he led, and those that knew him loved him and respected him. Now, for years, he and I worked together. I was the bishop of what we call the Campbell Park Ward in the Anchorage North Stake of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one thing that I always admired about Laird, not only in that calling, but just personally, was his dedication and his commitment. There were very few things over the 6 years that we served together that went by the wayside. He was constantly on top of things. He knew what was going on. He was somewhat protective of my time. And likewise, I tried to be protective of his time so that we could have time with our own individual families and our own personal needs and things. But Laird was a man of great character. I know he was, as a home teacher, he was particularly beneficial to those that we had some Sudanese refugees families that served in our that lived in our ward boundaries, as well as when he was a missionary, a service missionary in the Airport Heights ward. He and his good wife helped those individuals out considerably and spent a lot of time serving them. But that was indicative of Laird and how he led his life. He was, if I recall right, by training, he was a school teacher for a speech therapist, if I recall right. And he practiced that for a little while and then moved on to other things. And my entire life knowing him, he served with Primera and sold me my life insurance that my wife and I still have. And um, that's what he did, was sold life insurance. But he was well loved and well respected by all those who knew him and that he served. And so I'm going to share a couple fun things that we did outside of the church. We would occasionally do the old meat run, as we call it, when we would go down to the mouth of the Kenai River and dip net salmon. Now, for those of you who know the old Laird, he's kind of a tall, skinny guy. Um, I'm sure he weighed more than 125, but he was pretty light. And when we were one particular time we were down there, the waves were 2 to 3 foot, and coming in as they do when you've got good waves and crashing in on the shore with everyone there. And poor Laird, he got knocked over several times, and he was soaking wet, but he persisted and kept going. Either I'd stop and help him get back up, or somebody else next to him would help him get back up. But I never recall him complaining about the situation. He was just happy to be there, happy to be catching fish. And most of the fish that he was actually catching was actually for his neighbor, who was at that time probably 10, 15 years his senior, and was physically limited in what he could do. And so Laird, that's just kind of the nature of what he did. Most of the things that he did, very few of it, little of it was for him. Most of it was for somebody else. And so, since I'm not a tall, skinny guy, um, I never had that problem, although I did fill up my chest waders with water many a time. But Laird was always friendly and willing to go. The next time we went down there to go fishing, we had nice calm waters, so he was able to keep his footing and stay afloat. And so, as it were, anyhow. But Laird and I, we've had a lot of good spiritual experiences together. We His son and I had the opportunity to dress him for his burial, and which is always for me a humbling and a reflective time. But Laird and I, because of his contacts with the community, he would often tell me that there was somebody coming to town, and since they were in our ward boundaries as far as the funeral home, we would go over and dress these men for burial. And I learned a great deal from him and the reverence that he shared for those individuals. And just one odd situation, we had one gentleman that came in. He had passed away from some disease that was kind of rare, and so he donated his skeleton to science for further research and understanding of the unfortunate disease that he had. So he was in just be blunt, a bodysuit basically that just housed his body without a skeleton. And so we had to be extremely careful as we prepared this gentleman for his burial. And so without Laird, I would have never had those opportunities to dress some of those individuals for burial. And so for me personally, it was a great honor to return that for him. Now, in his passing, as you know, he spent a couple of years with dementia, and as he progressed and became weaker and weaker and prepared to the time to pass from this stage of life to the next, he still left a feeling of love and appreciation. And I know his family does, and I do. And I won't say I was unhappy to see his passing. I'm never happy to see anybody, but for Laird, it was a blessing to be able to pass to the other side. And it was a blessing for me to be with him for the last little bit before he did, and to go over with his son and his wife and spend some time there. And so I just want the Jenkins family to know what a great man that I think that Laird was. And I will always cherish our memories and the experiences we've had together and the opportunities we've had to serve and to be his neighbor and to be his friend. And so, Laird, if you're watching this from the other side, thank you, sir. I appreciate your love and your compassion and your service. And I'll leave that with you. And thank you for letting me share this with you. Thank you.